Today on the serious mirror of how they lied to us, former CNN anchor Don Lemon and a few others got arrested for allegedly depriving the St. Paul, Minnesota congregation of its First Amendment rights as part of an anti-ICE mob. Former ABC News anchor Terry Moran and his wife called for deporting Elon Musk and First Lady Melania. And talk show host Jennifer Welch claims calling someone an illegal is not Christian. Say what? This is the brand new media bias monitoring show of Essential Network. I'm David Thompson, and here's how they lie to us. Before we begin, a shout out to our friends at Ascent Nutrition. The great people at this company provide unique and beneficial nutrients to help you on the quest to living your healthiest and happiest life. Their passion is in the purity and potency of their nutrients that help to optimize human and animal health. No GMOs, nothing but highest quality sourced ingredients. Ascent Nutrition provides organic and wild harvested nutrients to the world through its unique, innovative, and best-in-class growing and harvesting processes. Their clean and unique practices allow them to offer superior, nutrient-dense products that help people, pets, and athletes feel and perform their best. If you want to feel strong and healthy again, turn to Ascent Nutrition. Use promo code ESSENTIAL for 10% off your first order. Promo code ESSENTIAL at ascentnutrition.com, ASCENT nutrition.com. The main subject of our first episode is the biggest story impacting the media world this week.
Los Angeles, where journalist Don Lemon was arrested overnight in connection with an incident during the immigration crackdown in Minneapolis. You heard that correctly. Don Lemon was arrested last night. Lilia Luciano is there with the story. Lilia, good morning. What in the world is happening here?
Good morning, Gail. Look, this is a concern that people have. People have been talking here about the First Amendment. I received a tip this morning, early in the morning, by someone, a source familiar with the arrest, confirming that Don Lemon overnight was arrested in Los Angeles. He was in Los Angeles for the Grammys that, as you know, are happening on Sunday. And this, as you said, is in connection to activities of protest that happened in St. Paul on January 20th. Here's what we know. That day, demonstrators entered the church during a service after learning that an ICE official was one of the pastors of that church. Don Lemon was at the church that day and interviewed the pastor. He has said he was there in the capacity of a journalist. Federal prosecutors later sought arrest warrants for 5 people, and that included Don Lemon, accusing them of interfering with churchgoers' constitutionally protected right to worship. But then a magistrate judge refused to sign the warrant for Lemon, citing a lack of probable cause. The Justice Department then took what has been categorized as a very unusual step of asking a federal appeals court to force the warrants to be signed. That was a request that appeals court had denied. Lemon's attorney, not right now, we still haven't heard from him, but days ago, said that the magistrate decision confirmed that Lemon was engaged in First Amendment protected journalism and called the government's effort a stunning and troubling attempt to silence and punish the journalist for doing his job. Now, multiple sources tell CBS News that Lemon was in fact arrested overnight. We, of course, have reached out to his representatives and also to Department of Justice to confirm exactly what these charges are. Are going to continue reporting on this, Gail.
I'll take it from here, Lilia. We will follow up and stay tuned. Lilia, thank you.
So former CNN anchor turned pro-DNC talk show host and independent journalist Don Lemon was arrested early Friday morning Eastern time by federal agents in Los Angeles. This occurred while he was in the city covering the Grammy Awards. The arrest stems from his involvement in covering and, according to prosecutors, participating in an anti-U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement protest that disrupted a church service on January 18, 2026 at City's Church in St. Paul, Minnesota. The church reportedly has a pastor who is an ICE official. Lemon and others, including fellow journalist Georgia Ford, were indicted by a federal grand jury in Minnesota. They've been charged with conspiracy against rights and interfering with the exercise of religious freedom at a place of worship, in other words, violating the Freedom of Access to Clinic Entrances Act, or FACE Act. Prosecutors, including Attorney General Pam Bondi, described the incident as a coordinated attack on the church, alleging disruption, intimidation of the pastor, and obstruction during the service by anti-immigration enforcement protesters. Just a reminder, this is a federal prosecution. As Bondi stated not long after the news broke,
make no mistake, under President Trump's leadership and this administration, you have the right to worship freely and safely. And if I haven't been clear already, if you violate that sacred right, we are coming after you.
Lemon and at least some defendants were taken into custody. He appeared in federal court in Los Angeles on the afternoon of January 30th, pleading not guilty, and he was released on his own recognizance without bail. His next hearing is scheduled for next Monday, February 9th, in a Minneapolis federal courtroom. Lemon is represented by his attorney, Abby Lowell, who also represented Hunter Biden, we must note. He's on his legal team, and he has strongly denied criminal intent, framing the charges as an unprecedented attack on the First Amendment and an attempt to criminalize journalism. They argue Lemon was reporting on the protest, not actively participating in disruption. Press freedom groups like the Committee to Protect Journalists condemn the arrest as alarming for media independence. The case has sparked significant controversy. Supporters of the administration view it as accountability for interfering with religious rights. Critics see it as retaliation against a Trump critic and journalist, especially amid broader tensions over Operation Metro Surge in the Minneapolis-St. Paul area. For his part, Lemon defended his actions after his release.
How are you? Wow. Can everybody hear me? Are you guys set? Everybody ready? So look, I want to thank everybody for their support. It truly means the world to me. I have no idea what's going on because obviously I haven't seen anything. I have spent my entire career covering the news. I will not stop now. In fact, there is no more important time than right now, this very moment, for a free and independent media that shines a light on the truth and holds those in power accountable. Again, I will not stop now. I will not stop ever. Last night, the DOJ sent a team of federal agents to arrest me in the middle of the night for something that I've been doing for the last 30 years, and that is covering the news. The First Amendment of the Constitution protects that work for me and for countless of other journalists who do what I do. I stand with all of them, and I will not be silent. I look forward to my day in court.
Well, the elitist immigration and customs enforcement hating media mob came out swinging in front of Lemon. As usual, the elitist anti-ICE media mob came out swinging in favor of Lemon. First up, bias by headline, April Rubin of Axios posted up her article about this news with the words, Don Lemon arrested after conservative backlash to Minnesota church protest. Has Axios ever used arrested after left-wing backlash in a headline before? And that's a deliberately dishonest way to frame the Lemon indictment. He was arrested after a federal grand jury indicted him. That is what no one is above the law means, but they to this day wonder why the media no longer has to trust the majority of the people. Well, that's one reason why. Next up, over on MS Now, their initial reaction to Don Lemon's arrest featured talk host Jonathan Lemire claiming Lemon was arrested for doing his job, before legal analyst Lisa Rubin parroted the idea, saying he's an easy first target for a Department of Justice who wants to put journalists in fear of doing their jobs. Then John Cash chimed in and compared the action to something done by the governments of Russia, China, and Turkey.
Let's remember, this also comes just a few weeks after the FBI searched a Washington Post reporter's home.
Yes.
On a national security matter.
Computers.
Took devices, took computers, and the Post was assured that the reporter herself was not a target of the investigation. It was one of her sources, that was seen as a real crackdown on the freedom of the press. At least, again, I keep coming back to this, and the context here is that Don Lemon has been an enemy of the MAGA movement for quite some time. He's disliked by the Trump administration. That doesn't matter. What matters here is he was being a journalist who was doing his job and has now been arrested for doing his job.
Yeah. And the other thing, John, that I would add is that Don Lemon, and many people this morning observed this to me, is sort of an easy first mark. If your aim is to go after journalists for exercising their First Amendment rights, the rights that all four of us really cherish and our network cherishes, Don Lemon does not have the protection of a network behind him. He does not work for a major corporation like Versant or any of the other major networks or any of the major print publications. He is lacking that infrastructure and support right now, which makes him a very convenient and easy first target for a Department of Justice that wants to put journalists in fear of doing our job.
And Molly, real quick, this is an administration.
Well, and the other by the federal government, by their government, not democracies. I mean, this kind of thing, it's a shot across the bow, right, towards the free press, and it's scary.
What a load of alarmist hooey. As Alex Christie of Newsbusters said, if Lemon conspired with the mob, which it appears he did, then he is just an activist with a camera. And as we were all told during the years of the Biden administration, nobody is above the law. You have a First Amendment right to do journalism in America, but what you do not have the constitutional right to do is interrupt a church service. That's a violation of the FACE Act. And of course, let's not forget this. Lemon appears to have been embedded with anti-ICE agitators before they stormed the church, despite the fact that he claimed no affiliation with the mob that stormed the church. But MS Now is not going to tell their viewers this. Meanwhile, we've got another good article about it from Alex Christie of Newsbusters. After a former CNN host was arrested for his part in the St. Paul church storming, his former colleague Jim Acosta took to his podcast to hurl multiple fascist accusations at Republicans, or as he called them, MAGA world. Also on Friday, on Lemon's own podcast, his substitute cast would throw in additional Nazi references to echo Acosta's point. Speaking with former Capitol Police Officer Michael Fanone, Acosta ranted the following.
It should piss off every American, and it will piss off, I mean, every good patriotic American. Non-crazy MAGA Americans will be pissed off about this. In MAGA world, they will whip this up into a frenzy and say, aha, see? But that's because they are a part of a fascist movement in this country. And Americans are just not fascists. They're just not, they don't want that. And they don't want journalists getting arrested for doing their jobs. I mean, we're showing a picture right now, like he's holding a microphone. He's holding Exhibit A, Your Honor.
Yeah. Of course, Fanone was only there to agree.
I mean, you're right. I think that the vast majority of Americans recognize this for what it is. Obviously, MAGA, it's constitutional rights for me, not for thee.
Exactly.
If you oppose the MAGA agenda, if you oppose Donald Trump and his fascist authoritarian regime, then you don't deserve constitutional rights, which obviously is not up to them to determine. But in their mind, it is.
While Fanone wants to accuse Republicans and MAGA supporters of being hypocritical on who gets constitutional rights and who doesn't, one can easily turn his back at him and Acosta. The left loves the FACE Act when it is used against pro-lifers in defense of abortion providers, but now that it is being used against left-wing anti-ICE activists in defense of a church, they're singing a new song. In related podcast ramblings, the Lincoln Project's Rick Wilson joined the Don Lemon Show and huffed the following.
And that's what they want. They want our silence. They've got people in the street shooting Americans because they want us to shut up. They're arresting journalists because they want us to shut up. If you're wondering, folks, what you would have done in Nazi Germany in 1936, this is the day.
Oh, God. Oh, God. Really? Also on Lemon's show, TMZ founder Harvey Levin ranted the following.
So the Trump administration wonders why people are saying that they are trying to form a dictatorship. Well, look at the landscape. Arresting Don Lemon, who covered a protest in Minneapolis, is just insane, ridiculous, dictator-like. This is the playbook that dictators use to destroy democracies and take the will of the people away. It is as simple as that. The First Amendment is the First Amendment for a reason. It is considered the preferred amendment when you have to start balancing what's more important. The framers of the Constitution knew that a free press was essential to a democracy. Without a free press, you don't have a democracy. And it's real clear that Donald Trump and company doesn't want a free press. The idea that a journalist, which Don Lemon has been for 30 years, would walk into a church and film a demonstration which is of national interest, and then to say somehow, when you watch the video, they say he's part of the protest. Watch that video. He is covering the protest. He's covering it. That's what journalists do. I covered riots. I was a local reporter in Los Angeles for 15 years, and I covered riots and floods and earthquakes and all sorts of things where I had to step into areas where there were police, where there was activity, private property. When you're covering an event like this, like a protest, which I've covered many, you step into it. And that's what journalists do. And that's what Don Lemon did. The idea that the Justice Department is saying he walked onto private property, that is insane. A church invites everybody in. Have you ever seen a church with a no trespassing sign saying no journalists allowed? Have you ever seen any house of worship that says that? It is insane, insane that they're making this stupid argument transparent. And yet, a grand jury indicted Don Lemon after a magistrate said there's insufficient evidence. Well, a grand jury will indict anybody because Don Lemon doesn't appear before the grand jury. Abby Lowell, his lawyer, doesn't appear before the grand jury. The Justice Department says what the Justice Department wants the grand jury to believe, and almost every time they believe it. It's all the way it's skewed. This is a ridiculous assault. And I don't want to say just on the First Amendment. It's a ridiculous assault on democracy. Trump administration should be ashamed of itself, but they're not. And they will continue to do this. And they are going after journalists. They're getting search warrants for their homes. It is obvious what's happening in this country, people. Look at what is happening. You're going to look back in 2 years if somebody doesn't stand up to them, and I know people are now, but you're going to look back in 2 years and say, wow, we didn't see that coming. Well, Neville Chamberlain should have saw it coming, and he didn't. And we don't want to be in that position. So wise up, everybody.
It was only a month ago that San Francisco police arrested a pro-lifer for filming outside of Planned Parenthood outside a state's own FACE Act, and Acosta and company did not call that fascism. It was not the first time. If Lemon's argument that simply videotaping the event means that he is an independent journalist falls flat, Acosta and company can blame the left for that precedent, as well as themselves for not calling it out. Also, TMZ has no right to lecture the American people on decency because its own employees celebrated the murder of Charlie Kirk.
Janet, go to have somebody look at the Fox. Trump just posted that Charlie Kirk is dead.
God